So if you are given a square root of a negative number, you might run into issues. Maybe you have been told before that taking a square root of a negative number can be done. That is partly true, but you actually can take a square root of a negative number by using imaginary numbers. If you don't know anything about imaginary numbers yet, you can go watch our last video about that subject. But it ain't necessary. Only thing you need to know about imaginary numbers when working with square roots is that square root of -1 equals to I. So let's work on this problem, which is square root of -4. You probably know that the square root of +4 is 2. Now what we need to do is to get the square root of +4 in the equation, and it can be done by multiplying it by the square root of -1. Like I said, the square root of +4 is 2, and now in imaginary numbers you know that square root of -1 equals to I. So our answer for this problem is 2i. Let's work on another example. Square root of -9. We do know that square root of 9 is 3, so let's start there. Then we can just make an equation of a square root of 9 times square root of -1. Square root of 9 is 3 and square root of -1 is I, so our answer is 3i. Now try to work on this problem yourself. Pause the video, try to solve these. Alright, first of all, square root of 36 is equal to 6. Square root of -36, we can count it the same way like I showed previously. Let's separate it in the square root of 36 times the square root of -1, which equals to 6i. Negative square root of 36 is equal to -6. Now, negative square root of -36, this might look tricky, it's actually pretty simple. Just count it the same way like we would count it without the minus in front, and then just add the minus. So our answer is -6i. What if we have the square root of -32? Now you might notice that 32 is not a perfect square, so you can't take a square of itself. At this point, it's good to remind yourself what the perfect squares are. So the perfect squares are 4, 9, 16, 25, 36 and 49, and so on. So now we need to figure out the highest number from perfect squares that goes to -32. And it's 16. So let's make this an equation with the perfect square 16 on it. We can make it by separating square root of -32 into square root of 16 times square root of 2. And let's also add square root of -1 to the end. Now we can count square root of 16, which is 4, and we can take the square root of 2 because it's not a perfect square. And as we know imaginary numbers, the square root of -1 is I. So this is our solution, 4 times square root of 2 times I. Here's another example, square root of -98. We can see that this also is not a perfect square, so let's find the perfect square that goes into it then. And it's 49. So let's make an equation with square root of 49 on it. Square root of 49 times square root of 2 times square root of -1. And we get 7 times square root of 2 times I. Here's the last example. Pause the video and you can try this yourself. The only difference is that there is a minus in front of the square root. And here's our answer. What's your thoughts about this? Put in the comments. See you in the next video.